Hi there. Before we jump into the episode, I want to invite you to something. If you're listening to this relatively close to the time that it's coming out, this is still relevant. I've got a planning session on Thursday, December 17th at 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern. This is a planning session for 2021, and it's also a review session of 2020. We're going to look at this past year. You're going to forgive yourself for the mistakes that you've made, the missed opportunities, the things you wish had gone differently in your business. And you're going to celebrate the shit that you pulled off, the things you stuck with. You're going to celebrate all your wins. And then you're going to step into visioning what you want to accomplish in 2021 and beyond. And then we're going to get nitty gritty. We're going to step into the planning and the hacks and the accountability and everything that you need to actually make it happen. We're going to have a lot of fun. So join me on Thursday. And the way to sign up for that is to go to rebeltherapist.me/plan. I would love to see you there. Although I won't really see you. Your camera's going to be off. It's going to be on Crowdcast where you can see me and I can't see you. I'll give you a worksheet to follow along. And yes, the most common question is there a replay? I can't make it on Thursday, December 17th at 10 a.m. Pacific. Yes, there's a replay. Sign up and I will send it to you literally like 15 minutes after it's over. Okay. I'd love to see you there, and let's get right into the episode.
I am not rescuing them. I am not telling them what to do. I am opening a process. I am there to ask questions. I am there to make sure the container is strong and sacred and that they have everything they need to access and move through these powers for themselves.
This is Rebel Therapist, a podcast for entrepreneurs who are trained as therapists and who want to level up their businesses, make a bigger impact, feel fulfilled, and be very well paid. I'm your host, Annie Schusler. What will your signature program look like? And how will you get started creating it? I think one of the best ways for you to understand that process is to hear the stories of entrepreneurs who have taken their gifts and turned them into online programs. My guest this week is going to share how she created a successful online group program using a ton of intuition as well as experience. Meet Michelle Irving. She's best known for two areas of work: helping women find feminine maturity and guiding women into the sacred power of illness. She's been bedbound twice in the last decade with serious illness herself, and now she mentors women around the world. Welcome, Michelle. Thank you so much for being with me.
Thank you so much, Annie, for having me. I'm really excited to enjoy this interview with you.
So the main thing that I want to ask you about and have our listeners get to really dig into with you is how you developed your programs and how you made them what they are today. It's so helpful for people to get a glimpse of that journey as they're developing their own programs and inevitably feeling like, how in the world am I going to get from where I am now to where I want to be?
Absolutely.
Yes. I also am going to ask you some questions later about how you manage your time and energy, and especially as someone who has dealt with huge health issues and who prioritizes self-care, because also healers a lot of times believe that in order to build something with a huge impact, they're going to have to push really hard and ignore themselves. So we're going to go there too.
I'm very happy to talk about that process and all the things that I've been able to put in place to make sure that my work has ease. That's my number one thing, that it's ease for me and it's ease for my clients.
So will you break down for us the different programs you have going on, starting with the group Feminine Maturity?
Sure. So feminine maturity is a term that I've coined, and for me, it's our natural developmental process. So the same way we go through childhood and teenhood and our young 20s, which I think of as our maiden, we are naturally move into our maturity if we followed our own intuitive guidance and allowed our power to expand. And what happens instead is that in a culture that wants us to stay in our maiden, does not want women to mature into their depth, and certainly does not want them to shine from it, we tend to squish down and squash our actual power that naturally wants to come out of us. So the program I've developed called Finding Feminine Maturity, in terms of finding, it's not something external. It's actually about unpicking and taking the levers off the power that is already there. And one of those levers for many of us is people pleasing. And the other lever is that we've been trained since very young, don't make a man uncomfortable. So in my own process with myself, I have been dedicated to authenticity and dedicated to authentic connection. I have practiced expanding my power and being able to stand and let somebody else be uncomfortable with my truth, with the experience of what I'm sharing, that I'm not going to rock and roll with somebody else's emotions. I'm going to stand my sacred ground. What I found is that my private clients got so much from what to me were natural and had evolved into quite simple principles that it became very clear that a group process and a digital online program was the way to go. And here's how I discovered it. My core work is actually in chronic illness. So I was running a 4-week beta program earlier this year for a new product. And in that program, we spent 1 week for women with chronic illness on our relationship dynamics. It was not enough for those women. There were so many issues because boundaries are a big deal for all of us, and they are critical if you're experiencing serious illness. Out of that process, I transmuted what was a week program about relationship dynamics into an 8-week program called Feminine Maturity.
Oh, so this is a relatively new offering.
It's a new offering on the digital space. It's deeply steeped in content and programs that I've run before, face-to-face and in group workshops. And it has evolved into this really beautiful 8-week online program. So what I did from a practical point of view was that I mapped out what I felt were the 7 powers of maturity, and they became 7 weeks of the course.
So how you've been teaching and guiding people through all of these different aspects and all these different lessons over time, how did it become clear to you that this really kind of wanted to be an 8-week process?
What I did in my own process is I start with the content. So what is, for me, the best process and the best way and the most joyous way for me to teach and communicate with other women? And what, for me, do I think women need to know before the work is done? So basically, if you're going to learn about feminine maturity, what do you need to know? And it came to me that there were, started as 4 things, and then I just sort of, it didn't feel right, and it turns out that there were 7 things. And I work at a deeply intuitive way and a deeply intuitive basis. And in fact, that to me is what the power of maturity is that you're actually listening to your own wisdom and guidance And I'm asking internally, what is the most ease? What is it that I feel is the most important for women to know? And what does that information look like? And for me, that looked like an 8-week program where they land, because it's a digital program. What I wanted is for women to have a group experience, but also to land in the intimacy. So the program has a structure in terms of the overarching content, and then it has a structure in what happens every week in order for those 8 weeks to complete out. So for me, when I thought and really sat and gave myself the time, so I create a space for myself. I usually wake up with the information coming through me. It has to be written down, or I dedicate time and space to do a meditation with myself and sit down and open my own container for my own creativity.
You've talked about kind of opening the container for this format to come to you. And it also makes me think that you must have needed to go through stages where you were working with women in different ways around this material in order for it to become so clear as, this is the format that is really going to get them through this entire transformation.
What I actually do with myself is I work deeply with mythology, and the map for me of maturity as well as for chronic illness is the myth of Persephone, who, as the Greek goddess, is a maiden, gets taken to the underworld, down to Hades, becomes the queen of the underworld with him, and then rises back up in spring and summer for being in what I think of as the overworld. The important part of this process is that she goes down a maiden, has a death and rebirth process, so to speak, and she rises a queen. So that mythology is the map for feminine maturity, as well as a map I use for chronic illness. But the reason that the process works for feminine maturity is that we strip down the maiden behaviors because we're letting go of the maiden. We're hearing the longings of maturity. We're releasing the power dynamics of the maiden. We're having a deep discussion with our boundaries and no. And then as we rise up as a queen to the overworld, we're rising up with the tools of the sacred no, the sacred yes, the power of the new. So we land in spring and summer with the power of our maturity.
Let's hear for about 30 seconds from our sponsor, and that would be me. All right, are you inspired by what you're hearing from Michelle, and are you feeling ready to create the first iteration of your signature online program? Join me and a group of kind and innovative and amazing entrepreneurs like you for a group coaching process with me. It's called Create Your Program, and that's because what you'll do is create your program. During this process, you're going to get very clear on your niche. You're going to create a simple version of your online program and an ethical marketing system to grow your audience. And then you're going to launch your program, actually, while we're working together. And you're going to get it out to the people who need it. I would love to have you in this process. Go over to rebeltherapist.me/create to learn more about it and sign up. All right, let's get back to Michelle. And when people are walking through this program, how do you help them stay engaged throughout the entire 8 weeks? Are there sometimes folks who are tempted to drop out? Are there spots along the way that you find that you have ways of inviting people to re-engage if they're kind of getting lost or stuck?
I haven't had anybody drop in the process. And I make the container with certain really strong agreements. So structurally, how it works is that there is a Facebook group, private Facebook group, where once you sign on to the program, and I run them at set times. So it's me, I'm available for that 8 weeks, and I'll talk more about how that structure works. So I'm opening the container, I'm bringing my own energy, and I'm going to work with feminine maturity. So that's it. Energetically, I am on for that process. And that's why it doesn't run all the time, because it's energetically, for me, that's what I'm committing to. And as much as the women go through the powers, I go through the powers just in synchronicity in my own life. I'm always reintroduced to the next level of my own maturing process. In terms of the structure, there's a private Facebook group that people get onboarded to. And then I use the platform Kajabi, which holds all of my videos for the modules as well as the worksheets. The process for each week is that there is a video that lands in the Facebook group where I talk about the power. So, for example, in the Power of Letting Go, there's a video. There's also the telling of the Persephone myth in a separate video, because she becomes our archetypal guide. And then I've designed a meditation and a ritual for women to drop into and then journal throughout the week. Then we come together every Saturday for an hour and a half to 2 hours, depending on who's in the group and what people need. And I turn up and it's whatever you want to ask me.
Mm. And does everybody tend to come to that meeting?
Everybody tends to come to the Saturday meeting. However, this year I ran the process, and a beautiful young woman in New York would usually have been able to come because it would be Friday nights for her in New York. However, she just got a new job. So she did the whole process and watched the live recordings of the live class and got immense work, just phenomenal change out of being in the container. So I trust that people will get what they need. I also don't monitor them. It's not, this is the work, this is what's available. People are invited at the beginning to welcome themselves with a welcome video into the Facebook group. So what that does is I've produced a welcome video into the group, and I encourage women to come on and load their own welcome to the group. What happens is that provides a level of engagement, and there's always somebody who's brave and first, which is amazing. But then as women come on and share why they joined the group, what they're hoping to get out of it, doesn't have to be long. We hear the feminine stories.
Are they doing these as videos?
They're doing them as videos.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
That's really beautiful.
Yeah. So I'm opening a container and everybody is seen and heard in the container.
How many participants are there usually?
So there's usually at least 10, but I've had, there's room for up to 20, and the momentum's really growing at the moment. So what that does is it creates space. Some people will watch everybody's video. Usually it's surprising, but if you have 2-minute videos, women are fascinated to see who else is in the group, and then they get the confidence to come on and share their own. And one of the reasons that that's strongly encouraged, and the reason I do that, is because at the end of that 8 weeks, they can go back and look at what they were hoping to achieve, where they were, what issues were going on for them, and see the progress they've made, the phenomenal change that has happened in their lives. The question about people staying in the group and engagement, this process is for women who want change. So I am not the person for you if you want to speak from a lot of your victimization and stay in that pattern. I'm the person for you if you know that these are patterns and you want to move through them, and you want to move through them with ease.
No, that makes sense. So you've already filtered with your language and with the way that you talk about the program, you've already filtered out a lot of people who maybe would drop off otherwise.
Yeah.
That makes a ton of sense. And it sounds like you've found a length that actually the right people can really stick with it for that period of time.
Yeah, I do an evaluation call with every woman after the course is finished. So a 45-minute feedback session. And what that does is it allows me to test how was the length, what did you do in terms of, I'm not marking them or grading them, but did they do the rituals? Would they like more of that? Would they like less of that? And there is to date nothing anybody has wanted less of. And some people spend half a day a week working with the ritual and the worksheets. Some people spend half an hour a week. That is entirely up to them. My job is to create a process for women to process themselves. I am not rescuing them. I am not telling them what to do. I am opening a process. I am there to ask questions. I am there to make sure the container is strong and sacred and that they have everything they need to access and move through these powers for themselves.
Yes. Yes. So you're doing it as you're modeling the exactly what you're talking about
Exactly.
by the way that you're leading it. It just occurred to me though, that's almost like 20 hours of debriefing calls. What's that like for you? How do you schedule those?
So for me, they're usually 30 minutes. So that's the first thing. They can take up to 45. I'm just happy to have that delightful connection with women. I record them with their permission. I get a transcript, and what that does is offer me a basis for them to share testimonials with me as well. So there's a lot of layers in everything that I'm doing so that it has ease. So people get at the end the opportunity to share a testimonial, and the evaluation is really so nourishing for me. It is not draining. I am hearing what women have truly experienced through the time. So I'll see their progress over the 8 weeks. I'll hear their questions. This container is potent. People leave jobs. People leave relationships. Women fall pregnant in this process. They change their dynamics with their parents, elderly parents often. They change the way that they work, and they hear the unsaid within them, and that has space for them. So the structure has live video every week. There are 3 rituals, beginning, middle, and end for women. There are meditations, worksheets, journal prompts, and then the live call. And one of the reasons that I've moved to Kajabi as a platform is because that is all scheduled in Kajabi. So they can move through each of the modules, go watch the video, download the meditation, get the worksheets, come back, journey throughout the week in the Facebook group, turn up for the live Zoom call, and then the replay is loaded into Kajabi. So that's how the work and the connection of sharing and being connected is separated a bit, but actually makes the Facebook the engaging space.
So that's the spot that's kind of the portal where everything happens. How often I know you hold this with them for the entire 8 weeks. How often do you run this?
2 to 3 times a year.
Okay. So you're engaged with it like about like a little less than half of the time.
Yeah, I think it's important to share the way that I work. I run programs when they work for me. I run programs when I'm in the energy, when I'm ready to do that connection, when I'm feeling that passion and I'm guided by that. So yes, I have an idea over the year of which programs and when, and I only open it when it is the right time for me. And that, surprisingly, works beautifully. That's when people turn up for my energy. That's when I'm on for launch. That's when I'm excited and really just present, just on with maturity, because I run other programs for chronic illness and they are a different type of energy for me. They're a different type of client group, and that is a different type of container. And in between running Finding Feminine Maturity, people can go to the website, they can click the link to apply, and there's a wait list. So what that does, that wait list page gives me the information as women start to add to the wait list. I can start to feel, oh, there's room here, there's interest here, and that gives me the information to connect with, am I ready to launch? But what I'm doing is consistently holding space that women can go in and log into, as well as my Instagram feed is programmed that I talk about chronic illness, once a week, feminine maturity once a week. There'll be a video, there might be a podcast recording on it. There's material so that women are consistently connected to this process.
And when you're getting ready to launch, how long is, and for people who don't know exactly what we mean when we're saying launch, it basically means when the program is becoming available and then it's available. When you're getting ready to launch, how long is that process of, okay, now I want to run it? How long between then and when it actually starts?
I map out a 6-week process for myself. So that is a process where I'll map the Instagram posts and that they all get scheduled. Because what I'm looking for in my launch energy is that I'm at ease, I'm rested, I've got, my massage is organized, I'm at the beauty salon, whatever I need to make it easy. The most important thing is that I am not selling to women. That's not what I'm doing in this process. A launch process is I've mapped the social media. Then what I've done, say 4 weeks from the course, I'll start to really post about my own process with maturity and feel into what's alive in me. Then what I'll do is do a series of Instagram lives or Facebook lives or both, and really bring women along with some of the core skills that feed into what we're going to talk about. So, for example, I run a webinar, which again I charge for, but it's from maiden to maturity, and people can come to that webinar for $16. It might be $20 next year. Join in and have the content delivered about just the cultural code. And then I run Q&A on that. So women can ask anything. What I have is a group of very satisfied, happy women who have months later are still experiencing the benefits of the 8-week course. Those women jump on when I do the lives or when I run the webinar because it's a refresh for them and they're excited to see each other on the call. So in terms of the launch process, I like live. It's very comfortable for me to run live. And so whether that's an Insta live or a webinar, I just work out, a couple of points. You can go to my Instagram handle. You'll be able to see the lives that I've done in launch. When I do them on Insta, they're a 15-minute live max, and they're just talking straight to a key tool or a key point that has gold in it for women. And this is what I mean about I'm not selling. I'm in the energy of my maturity. I'm alerting women that they can come and join this. I'm alerting to them to what it is, why it's important, what would be of benefit for them. And I'm speaking to my ideal client through that process. And then the week before, then I'll do the posts which are, it's time, we're moving into it, we start next week.
And when you say posts, are you also emailing your list with something similar?
Yeah. So there's a newsletter list, but I'm not emailing them every week. What I'm doing is I'm emailing them about the live process. I'm emailing them about the webinar and then that section that Feminine Maturity is launching, with dates and how to get in touch, etc.
Okay, beautiful. So you're not creating, when you said ease, it's like you're not creating extra work for yourself in that way. You're just letting people in on this is where the action is happening if you want to join me.
Yeah. Yep.
Mhm.
Yep.
Love it.
And I'm processing myself.
Mm.
So the whole thing about the energy is that I am not running an external process. I am in the process. My maturity comes up when it's like, oh, I've got so many people booked in. Oh dear, what do I need to do? Like that voice is going to rise. And it's my practice to be, we're having a party. Everybody will turn up. We all know 3 days before it starts, as well as after it starts, women are going to pop in and want to join. So the first week is essentially a welcome week. And I've had 4 or 6 women join in welcome week. So the course has starts on a Monday with the video. And then people are like, oh, is it too late to join by Wednesday? I've had people email and say, oh, I know we've started and the first live class is tomorrow. Can I join? And that's on the Friday. So I know that the system is some people book immediately after engagement. They're on, they're ready, they're paid, done.
Yeah, that's me. That's totally
That's me
I'm
too.
like, all right, well, I'm going to do it anyway, so let me get in there right away.
Yeah. Yeah, that's me.
Yeah.
But my client group is not all me.
Yeah,
So
so no, me neither.
so I allow that first week, which is this week is about from maiden to maturity. These are some of the things you can think about. You're going to start to notice things. Do your welcome video. So it's very cleanly set up so that anybody can join at any time that week and they haven't missed anything.
Let's talk a little more about boundaries and time management in general in your work. How many hours do you tend to work? I think when we talked about this before, you let me know it's not like a one number at all times, but what would you say your general preference is around how many hours you work, or does it change over time?
It changes over time. And at the moment, I'm preparing web content and programs to launch in the new year, which are the signature offers for chronic illness. Even with that process, I would say I'm probably working 30 hours a week, maybe 40, maybe, but I really want to talk about my process so that it's clear what that is. I work with my body. So not only because I have chronic illness that has its own management process, but I don't want to be in push because push has so much stress in it. It's not great for anybody's well-being and it's pretty crappy energy to create from, not just for me, but for other women to experience it. So that's not the energy that is the mature energy for me to work with. So what I do is I have my list. I've got a list of things that are priority ordered to do for the day. And I think I work with my own inspiration or my own intuition about what feels good, what do I feel needs to be done today. And then I am both ordered enough to do that, but I also, every day, I have some physical movement, whether that's going and working out with a personal trainer, whether that's walking to the market and getting food for myself, whether that's dance that I do and connect with over the internet. Whatever it is, there's some movement for me. If I wake up and it's a bad day for my experience of vertigo or other chronic pain, I don't work that day. That's just the way it is. I don't push because I trust my body's process and I trust my intuition, and resting is the right medicine for me to create from. So I don't need to create. And then the other thing that I do is this week I was just dress shopping. I bought a new dress and I'm like, okay, I need to make some money. I've just bought a dress. And I was like, oh, I feel really excited. I'm just going to pop on to Instagram. I'm going to do a live, and I'm going to open up 3 spots for one-on-one sessions with me. I haven't offered one-on-one sessions for over a year and a half because group work is the most efficient way for me to deliver content and bring in the revenue that brings. But that's what I felt like. I felt I'm just going to package it up, and, one session will be 300 and I'm going to do 3 sessions for 700 Australian dollars. That's just what I feel like. So I just came home, did the Insta Live, did a little Canva tile, and then put that out on Facebook and Instagram, and then designed a little story and did that yesterday. And once again, I'm not selling. I'm like, I'm opening up. December's available. If you want to come, here's what you get. And you can hear it in my voice and in my energy. I'm not selling, pushing myself to get the money. This is a very deep layer of training in my emotional and nervous system, because obviously there are days where, oh my God, how's this going to work? Am I going to make enough? No matter what it is, there's always that survival question that will rise. And when that happens, I know I need to attend to myself, because that survival mechanism is telling me something about my own needs and my own wants. And I need to attend to the survival part, not just the fact that it's turned on because it thinks I need to make immediately $8,000 because my life will end if I don't. I want to listen to that voice.
I'm loving hearing thank you so much for giving this example. And I'm loving hearing how it's not as if once you reach feminine maturity, you don't ever struggle. But I'm hearing that it's this discernment and knowing what energy you want to create from and what energy you want to attend to in different ways. So thank you so much for that.
What I want to say about that, Annie, is you're absolutely spot on. Feminine maturity is not an eternal state of always being grounded and always having boundaries. Feminine maturity is actually your capacity to work with all your other parts, which don't feel as mature. That's what maturity is. It's being able to connect and nourish with your inner child. It's being able to work with your inner teen. It's being able to work with your people pleaser, not alienate them, but really listen to, this is information for me. This part is really active and really turned on. What's going on for me? That's what maturity is. And there are days when there are tantrums in my house. There's me and my partner. We're both processing our own maturity. There's definitely going to be a tantrum by somebody at least once a week. And there's a whole lot of agreements that we have about how we work with our individual maturity and how we work in relationship together in maturity, which is not requiring everybody to be in their maturity 100% of the time.
Yeah. Yes. Thank you so much for this conversation.
It's my absolute pleasure, Annie. It's really gorgeous to be part of your podcast. I love it. And I really feel the maturity of your work in the world, helping us all grow. It's absolutely gorgeous. I really am delighted to talk with you.
Find out more about Michelle Irving at michelleirving.com.au. I want to thank Cosmo Palms for editing this and every podcast episode. If you found this episode supportive, please share it with your favorite therapist or healer or entrepreneur. That is how we reach more people so that they can help more people. And thank you so much for listening. If you have been listening to this podcast for a while, you know that Cosmo, our editor, often drops in a blooper right about now. Instead of that, what we've got for you is a meditation by Michelle. So if you want to hang out and listen to that, here it is. So one thing I'm wondering if this will be possible, before we hit record, you did this lovely little moment where you asked me to close my eyes and you closed your eyes and you walked us through something. And I'm wondering if you'd be willing to have us do something like that, that is a closing that we let the listeners in on.
Absolutely. I'm very happy to do that.
Awesome.
Yeah. So the first thing I want you to do if you're listening to this is find a space that works for you, that you can just sit gently. So if you're driving in your car, this is not the time to practice what we're about to do, but mark this and come back to this great podcast with Annie and do this little it's really a meditation, but it's actually a guided connection for you with your own maturity. So just gently close your eyes and feel down into your feet. And know that your feet and you are supported here in this moment, and that you're connected to the earth and that the earth is supporting you. And then when you feel that connection coming up your calves and your thighs, make any adjustments that you need to be more comfortable. Feel into your heart. And feel the expansion of what your heart is feeling. And you may want to place your hand over your heart. Here is your wisdom. Here is the heart of your maturity. Here is the way that you connect with yourself at any time. May the work that we all do serve both the ease of our heart and connect us to women as we share what is true for us, as we say what is real and authentic about what we need and what we want, and as we open and hear what other people need and what they want without having to take responsibility for it. And may the work that we do both bless us, but also continue to mature us, that we may stand our sacred ground and shine and illuminate the power of our natural beauty in the world. And may we see the illumination in other women around us of their natural power. And may the world be healed through us taking our place with this power. Just come back to your breath, breathing in and letting go. And when you're ready, gently open your eyes.